Hi, folks. Al Coupe here, and I'm looking over Mission Valley from the backyard of a home located just above Ward Road and Interstate 8. And I'm looking across and will be for, let's say, a year and a half. How's that sound? I'm going to watch some people build a stadium for just about a year and a half. With me, Ernie Lord and Gary Allen from Frank Hope and Associates. Ernie, as I say, I don't really know whether titles mean much, but what were you in connection with the new San Diego Stadium?
I was the project architect for Frank Hope and Associates for the stadium project.
And Gary, what was your official title?
Al, I was the designer for Frank Hope and Associates on this project.
Well, we're going to see how well for the next year and a half around here. We call this show Ballet for Bulldozers, and you'll see why. Well, fellas, let's turn back the clock to December 18th, 1965. Have a seat. I believe I see Al Haratunian over there by that microphone.
You see that hill over there? It's going. Where's it going? It's going down there. Because that's the type of progress you're going to see in the next few months continually here. Over 1.5 million yards of dirt, I imagine, are going to be filled down here. You're going to see a gentle slope. And then where the football field is over there, you're going to see a cone with the top cut off, and that's going to be our beautiful 50,000-seat multi-purpose stadium that all of you voted yes for, and that's why we're here today. And we'll see you in August 1967 when the Rams play our Chargers and get beat.
Now, Mayor Frank Curran has introduced Al Haratunian, Baron Hilton, and Pop Warner footballer Jim Allison just prior to some interesting ceremonies.
The first event, and there will be 2 or 3, the first event will be when we ask them to push the plunger here on the platform, and it will outline the football field. So that there will be no problem here, might I ask Mr. Haratunian and Mr. Hilton if they will take this plunger on the detonator and listen carefully before you touch it. Bring it all the way up to the top and plunge it hard all the way to the bottom. If you don't, it may misfire. And so be careful. And are we ready down on the field? Are we ready, Chief? We are ready. Here we go. All the way down. How about that?
Well, the pomp and circumstance is ended, and the hard work begins. Well, there it is, gentlemen, kind of a barren piece of the old San Diego riverbed. You people are going to move the mountain to the riverbed, so to speak, aren't you?
That's what they're doing right now, Al. We're trying to build a hole, essentially, with 1.25 million cubic yards of dirt to start with.
You pulled it right off the side of that mountain directly north of the stadium site, didn't you?
Right, they closed Friars Road, and you can see the path of the earth movers going up.
Well, that hole is a pretty good start.
It's 37 feet from the edge of the field down to where the playing field is.
37 feet deep down in.
Correct.
Well, actually, 37 feet up, right? That's what
Yes,
you did.
we're building up.
You actually diverted the riverbed, the channel, rather, didn't you?
Yes, we did, to the south, and it was dug out, and well, the riprapping that's going to come along here.
What are we doing with that crane up there started across the top?
It would probably be one of the trenches for utilities.
I see. Well, the grading is pretty well defined now, isn't it?
We're just about getting this first phase completed.
At this point, you're beginning to see the shape of the stadium. The supercircle is appearing on the ground surface.
That's up there on the upper left.
Yes.
The actual bowl itself and the grading all the way around.
Yes.
We're looking always from the southeast to the northwest. In other words, from the open end of the stadium to the closed end of the stadium.
Now, the first phase of this grading contract is complete, and they're going to be now completing the parking lot area.
I see.
The surface of that hill that you see in the background where we just removed the earth is 11 acres in size.
Man. How many tons is it of the dirt?
Well, the total grading is 2.5 million cubic yards
Yard.
of earth moved.
Down below, we'll pick up the rip wrapping shortly, won't we, right across the bottom of the picture?
Yes,
And that's,
which is actually just piling rock along the bank of the river, so it won't erode.
in other words, if they do have a flood up the valley, it will come around the stadium, huh?
Yes. We've actually even formed a dam around the playing field, it says, by building this earth up around it.
Right. What's taking place up around the...
Well, now the piling is being moved in prior to the start of the general structure contract, so that 2 months of lean time was eliminated if it had been in the general contract.
How many pilings and how big were they and what did you put in there?
Well, there's 1,450 steel H-piles that were driven through the fill into sandstone, about 4,500 tons of it.
Now, you fellows were telling me that if the water did wash all the dirt and everything away from the stadium, the structure would still stand because of the way the pilings were driven in.
Correct.
And what are we doing down below? I saw a lot of activity a minute ago down in the bottom there. Are they getting ready for the rock pilings?
Yes, they're actually grading that riverbed along the south side there.
Now that you can see the rigs going in to start driving the piles, and that intensity will pick up quite a bit. They're also beginning to bulldoze the basement areas in for the team rooms and the storage spaces.
Oh, yeah, they had to, once this dirt was all in there and sort of got itself firm and resolved, then they had to dig into it and arrange for the various interior parts of the stadium, right?
That's right. It's like building a basement like any other construction.
Now here is this rip wrapping happening right in the lower portion of the picture. You can see the big clamshell dropping the rock along
Oh,
the
yeah,
face.
forming the rock right across the face of that little cliff you got there, huh? Now, one of the reasons the reason that we couldn't see any activity taking place there for what seemed like months was because it was all below the level, right?
Tremendous amount of the stadium is underground.
There's that rip wrapping again going in there, and it's completed now across the...
Right.
Eventually it will appear above ground, and then the public who drove by it for so many months will really begin to see the shape of the stadium.
Yeah, I was one of the public that drove by it probably 3-4 times a week, waiting to see that thing come up from out of nowhere. And actually, it did come up from out of nowhere. We had no idea, of course, that that hole in the ground that had been developed was so much a hole in the ground.
Well, half the population is going to be sitting below that surface there, below that grade level.
That made it unnecessary to put in, I imagine, a number of extra escalators and elevators and that sort of thing. Otherwise, if you'd have raised the whole stadium above the level of the ground, you'd have had another problem.
Yes, that was the basic reason for doing it.
Double the number of ramps, escalators, and elevators.
Right.
Plus, it's more economical to pour seats on grade than it is to suspend them above grade.
You fellows had to make special efforts to build according to specifications, which included earthquake precautions and that sort of thing, didn't you?
Right.
Where are we at here now?
This is, like Gary said, this continuing work in the basement area, which is quite a major project. Drilling the piles, drilling holes, driving piles, and excavating and pouring concrete foundations and basement walls.
Oh yeah, pouring the concrete now. As I understand, here we're in June of 1966?
Yeah, you see that little strip right across the bottom
Oh, yeah,
is the
you're right.
trenching for the telephone conduit.
Well, did all your TV and radio and all that sort of accommodations go into that too?
We'll go into that duct that was put in there.
I see. I've been told that the network people and of course our technical people here are just tickled to death with this arrangement that the television and radio will have.
Well, we sure hope so. We did our best to contact everyone and to provide the best facility for.
Well, in the long run, it'll be a much more inexpensive too for the city and for the stadium operation, as I understand it. Now, what is this thing? Really, this is the first date really right here, isn't it?
This is
The baby was born.
1 year ago. This is the birth date ceremony right on where the playing field would be.
Al Ramatuni, I see there.
So Marlon Young,
Miss San Diego.
Arson Donovan.
Why, that was a year ago today, August 20th.
Now you can see what's happening, Al, in
Oh,
that
yeah.
hole with all of the construction that nobody's been able to see.
We're 12% complete.
Yes.
And that's why most people didn't think they'd ever finish. 1 year ago, 12%.
Right, yeah. Well, there you can see where you have dug into the dirt wall to get back into those locker rooms and all that sort of thing. Back to work here now. What's going in? What can we look forward to?
Well, at this point, the structure is beginning to come up out of the ground. Some of the columns are appearing around the periphery of this hole in the ground that we developed. And now the public has their first chance to see what the concrete is going to look like.
Now, as I was going to say a minute ago, the concrete was all poured right there, wasn't it? Even the precast concrete forms that we had put in the poured, it was all poured there.
Right. Part of the site was devoted to precasting handrails and light rings, and I think later on we'll see that where they were precast, and also all the seat units for the areas above the grade level and also over the basement were all precast and pre-stressed.
Everything below level of the earth or the hole level was poured, and that above, most of it was precast. Is that correct?
Well, there is some precast seating risers in the lower area. One of the interesting things about concrete here, Al, is we may think in terms of a 50-year life of this stadium, but it could stay around many thousands of years, but it is so permanently constructed.
I see. Well, we'll have a helicopter view of all that precast, not all of it, but much of the precast stuff laying around the outside of the stadium, which we'll get a look at. That was already poured and precast right at the site for lifting into position. Some of the lifting was fantastic, wasn't it?
Right. The light ring units that held the lights, floodlights, were 28 to 34 tons apiece.
What kind of cranes, how many did they bring in there?
Well, for lifting that, they used 150-ton crane for lifting that unit up.
We'll see that each one of those rings took how long, a day?
When they started out, they were 1 day for each, and then they got to putting up 2 a day.
And when you see our time-lapse camera action here, you'll see those big 30-ton forms go up, big, 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 big.
There's the quick shot of the elevator.
Oh, yeah. 4 elevators, 4 escalators.
8 escalators.
8 escalators.
They're actually double.
That's right. And the escalators that go to the top level, as I understand, are the longest escalators in the outdoor escalators in the world.
To our knowledge, yeah.
They're supposed to move something like 2,000 people a minute to the top of that thing, or up to their seats. In other words, 120 foot a minute, so a couple of people per step. All right, December 66, 1 year has passed since groundbreaking.
Now you really see all the elements taking shape, the circular ramps on the outside of the structure, the elevators that Gary just talked about, and in the background you can see the precast columns for the restaurant structure.
Oh, yes. Now, directly in front of the stadium, we're going to see those, the scoreboard supports go up, right? Pretty quick.
Yes, I think now you can see the 2 red trusses that are out in front of the columns.
They're just lying out there waiting for somebody to put them in place.
That truss itself weighed 45 tons. Took 4 cranes to lift it up in place.
With all the activity going on here, you can see how many people did have jobs here at this site, and it was a busy place.
Well, you know, the problem there must have been supervision. You probably had people all over the place. Now, there are those precast forms that are down, as you see, looking down from the helicopter, right?
Yeah.
All that down there is precast cement forms, the concrete forms that are going to be lifted into place for another, or one place or another in the stadium.
Yes. We poured about 58,000 yards of cast-in-place concrete, and the rest was, up to 69,000 was precast. And although you look at it, you would think there was more precast than there was cast-in-place because of the thin sections and area compared.
Well, I see we're 45% complete here. It looks even more than that now after having looked at nothing for so long.
It's really
Everybody
starting
coming out there.
There was that scoreboard, isn't it? No, actually, I haven't looked at those two.
They're in the parking lot now, and you see them trenching for the parking lot lighting.
Oh, yes, and they planted trees and that sort of thing out in the parking lot too. By the way, Gary, you, as the designer, boy, you came up with some real touches of genius in such this thing up. I'm anxious to go back here to the stadium in about 5 years and see all of those trees and shrubbery and that sort of thing that you put in there. And then it'll be something.
It would be great to provide shade for the people who walk under these trees. They should real fast and be very healthy specimens.
What have we here?
That's an elevator structure on the left and the circular.
And here are the great light rays.
Those are those light rings that weigh up to 34 tons.
Right.
Right?
And they're going to sit on those columns, which are now being cast.
Is that the crane? That can't be the
That was
crane.
just pouring concrete.
I see.
This is one of the movable, this is the movable sand section that you just saw. They're actually right up to the upper seating level now, installing the precast sheet units.
There goes one of those scoreboard. There,
The
the two
columns went
columns.
up.
The two columns.
Right, now you'll see the truss go up real quick.
Real quick.
Went up in one day, and
Just one day. Well, it's not going to take us a day to get up there. I'll tell you that. There it is.
there it is,
Right
it's sitting
there.
on top now.
The scoreboard is in place, at least. The basic structure. They're having a bit of a problem with the scoreboard to get it, from all the lights and all the electrical equipment that has to go in to get it to conform exactly to what they want it to. To be ready before the league season begins, I'm sure.
Right, just preceding this, the asphalt paving was started for the parking lot.
Those black strips are on. Here's an escalator, right?
That's a long ride to the top level.
Now, how many of those are there?
There's four to the upper seating level.
And four to the
Lowest level.
floors level, right? Here's some section of movable stands right there. We'll see those move a little bit later here, right?
Yes. That movable stand in no way a temporary seating arrangement. It has the same seats on it as the concrete.
Yes, I know. And you fellas have put them on great, huge rubber tires with anchored concrete pads and all that stuff.
They move across the field without damaging the surface.
Here you can see the columns for the light ring.
Yeah, we'll see those light rings just set up there as lightly and gently as you would ever believe in a little while here by that great big crane.
Well, they have lifted up on the left there, right up top. You can see them going in place now.
Just a couple, three of them up there so far. Now the asphalt is in for the parking lot. You know,
A part of it, yes. The scoreboard is at this open end right below the big truss with the light ring.
That scoreboard is 5 stories high.
I know, I was in there the other day, couldn't believe it. How many lights did they say is in that thing?
34,000.
34,000 40-watt lights. Is that right? Individually installed. I watched them bang by bang by bang. You can't believe it.
We are swinging down to look at the field area. You can see the great sweep of the stand in the upper level. Precast seating risers going into place. That's the bandstand there.
Hey, that's right. You got special seats for the bands that play at the Charger and San Diego State games and baseball and so on, right?
One thing we didn't mention there was the
Putting
turf.
more, we're putting more asphalt in right now. Finished it up right there.
The turf for the football field was sodded in April.
Oh.
So
I don't know if folks noticed it or not, but we had the rain right there.
Yeah.
The wetness on the asphalt. What's that big, that ramp, outside ramp that we
See
saw?
the elevator, big shaft going up in the foreground.
Here's the turf.
This is
over
the
there.
turf that was going in. It was right at the football field it was put in, so we had it well rooted, and the area around it was put in at a later date.
Well, they've got a test today. Real good. That turf. There are those light rings, and I'm kind of anxiously looking forward to seeing those placement of the rings up on top.
There's 1,165 floodlights in that ring.
There we go. Pin going up on top of that big crane, just setting them up there as light as a feather. 30 tons going up and in place, all the way around the top ring. Isn't that something?
Of course, Gary has eliminated here those big ugly banks of lights that you normally see in some of the other stations.
This is a completely new thing, isn't it? Innovation.
First time it's been done this way.
They got an amazing, an amazing power coming from those lights. They come at very seldom will they ever have to use full power.
It's designed to provide an average of 300-foot channels for color TV. Some readings were taken right where the picture's mound would be. We're over 400 on our initial test.
400-foot channel. And they can adjust it as they turn them on instead of everything blinding everybody. And when they turn them off, the whole city of San Diego going black. You got it so that you can turn them on bit by bit by bit.
There's actually programming to have lower levels of illumination. We don't have color televising because you don't really need that much.
And that sign brings to mind something. How many of those did you put in, you say?
I think about 2,000 signs that will direct the people to their seats. And
I got news for everybody. Read those signs, friends. When you get in that place, read those signs.
It's a vast area and you can't get lost.
Still in the water fountain.
Always 20 to 30.
We can take care of a few thousand people if they don't want sodium pump. And there you see the trees. This is you've got some magnolias, you've got some liquid embers, and
Lots of pine trees.
all through the stadium in extremely appropriate places. Just kind
And
of
we're coming right down to the wire here. See, this is a lot of cleanup, a lot of finishing touches, painting.
actually you're
All the
still
finishing.
painting, aren't you?
We'll still have lots of little things to do, even after the day.
Finally, real pretty. Now here are the movable stands, right?
Yes.
And
This forklift is actually towing one of the smaller units across to the open end. Crane will lift it up and set it into its storage place for baseball.
how long does it take you to make the switch?
Well, their trial move took under 24 hours, which is can be probably cut in half once we get to doing simultaneous operations.
You're just figuring that you could convert from football to baseball and back again in about 12 to 15 minutes.
Well, one way.
One way.
Yeah.
Gee, that's something. The children's hospital arrangement wasn't
Right, on
big.
August 12th, they had a preview showing of the stadium for the children's hospital down there.
And there's the nose, the schnoz. He was on hand, I know, for the children's hospital benefit. He looks like he owns this place. Jimmy Durante.
At 10 this very morning, there was activity in the stadium, a few starry-eyed fans making their way in. Then at 11 a.m., the highways around San Diego Stadium began to load up with cars and people heading for the roomy parking areas surrounding the great arena. There were surprisingly few crises for the 46,000 who made their way to the dedication. It was a grand and glorious sight, this gorgeous sports stadium nearly full up as game officials and team captains met at midfield. The Chargers lost the coin flip, a symbol of what was to come in the next couple of hours on the field. From the moment the Lions received the opening kickoff to the final gun, which sent tens of thousands of fans back to those highways and byways surrounding the stadium, the outcome was a foregone conclusion. The Lions simply dominated the game on the attack and on the defense. It was only an exhibition football game, but it was a great, great stadium exhibition. Well, the traffic is cleared up. The highways are wide open. The folks have come and seen. It's too bad the Chargers couldn't have provided a victory to open that beautiful new San Diego Stadium, but there'll be many, many wins in the years to come. We've had a 1/2 hour look at the birth of a stadium. Thanks to Ernie Lord, Gary Allen. Fellas, I do want to also thank the gentleman that owns the house right here, Dan Bridge of the Noel Bridge Mortgage Company, for allowing us to use this vantage point for our Kogo cameras. And I certainly appreciate your help in this, and I, along with many hundreds of thousands of other San Diegans, appreciate the great work you did with San Diego Stadium. And folks, I've just got one little more thing to show you. You fellas stick around and watch it. Well, here it is. This is the little magic machine right here that's responsible for the whole thing. This machine has been sitting in this very spot in the bridge backyard for 1.5 years. It's been taking a picture, a frame, every 6 minutes. And what you saw was 24 frames a second. So as you well recognize, things move pretty fast when you look at it. We hope you've enjoyed Ballet for Bulldozers as we have. It's been a great thrill for us to even be a part of the the growth of the stadium in this small way, and we're going to look forward to some wonderful, wonderful afternoons and evenings in the new San Diego Stadium. I'll see you there.